Hi guys, so this morning I'm going to be making a ton of cookies. My husband's military Marine Corps section out here at Camp Pendleton, they're making cookies for the Marines who aren't going home. So they need dozens of cookies. They're looking to have 600 dozen cookies, okay? So that's a lot. My husband's like, maybe you can just do it. I'm like, 600 dozen? Like, I can't just, what are you talking about? Because he knows, like, you know, like to make those really nice cookies with the royal icing and all that. And I was like, and even at that, what do you want? Like a little light bulb one? I don't know. So obviously lots of other families are going to help out. It's just they had a hard time finding families to help out this year, as many as they had last year. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm going to make like 6 to 10 dozen. I don't know. It sounds like they have plenty of people to do it now. That it's approaching. They're due tomorrow, so I figured I'll do them today. So I'm gonna make gingerbread because they're cute, they're festive. I think it'll be different. Probably not a lot of people are gonna be doing that. I don't know. I would assume. I'm assuming most people are gonna be doing like chocolate chip cookies, things like that, right? Maybe I'll do some sugar cookies, but for right now in this little tutorial, I'll just be doing gingerbread cookies. And I do want to tell you, I get my recipes for my gingerbread, or I always pretty much use this one from King Arthur flour, and I always use their flour. So whenever I use any kind of flour, it's always King Arthur. If it's, you know, unbleached, all-purpose, whole wheat, whatever, doesn't matter. I always get their flour. I love them. It's from the Essential Cookie Cookbook, but these are also online for free. That's why I don't really feel too bad about sharing the recipe, because it's free online. You can just go to kingarthurflour.com, gingerbread cookie. It'll be the exact same recipe, and you'll, you know, I'm not gonna write it out here, but it's the one that has 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, 3/4 cup of dark brown sugar, 3/4 cup of molasses, and then goes from there. So you'll see it. I doubled the recipe because I do need a lot of these. This will make about 3 dozen, a little more or so. And then I'm going to use their recipe for royal icing, which is on the next page, but it's also on their website. What I like about this one, it's about 3 cups of icing, and the one I normally use is from brookiescookies.com. I love her rollout cookies. I love, and Lila Loa cookies. She always has great recipes. But I usually do Brookie's Cookies royal icing, but I think hers is flavored with almond extract, and I was like, well, and it's a huge batch, and I don't really want to cut it in half. I think she even mentions like it's tougher if you were to half her recipe. So this is a nice small size recipe to make the little icing, just to add some little details to the gingerbread. So I will do that in this video too, because that is one of the things that more people have a problem with, is royal icing, or, you know, it's kind of scary to work with. So what you do need for royal icing that maybe you don't have right now is meringue powder. And so I went and grabbed all of my cookie making supplies. I haven't used in a little while. And I keep them in different tubs and things. So this one happens to be in here. And I knew I have all my flavorings in here, and huge things like this of meringue powder. It wants 1/4 cup, which is kind of a lot, to be honest. Most of the time recipes, even a big recipe, does not ask for 1/4 cup. So I'm like, that's a lot. But I do buy this big guy, get with coupon. This is Wilton. There's different brands. Just for me, it's easy to get Wilton. And then they sell it like this also, like at Walmart. It's usually in the smaller thing like this. So that's what I'll be using. And then, of course, you need your confectioner's sugar. So I'm just showing you the things that are kind of, you know, maybe you should, but I always have this around the house. But some confectioner's sugar, which is powdered sugar. And then everything else is just water, coloring, and we're not going to use coloring today. And salt, and vanilla extract, right? Or whatever extract you like, to be honest. But for this one, I'm doing vanilla because it's gingerbread. If I was just making these gingerbread cookies for kids to kind of decorate, because I do that every holiday anyway, I make the cookies, and then I give each kid just a Betty Crocker, get that white frosting, you know, the Betty Crocker can, or maybe even the cream cheese flavor one. And I put a dollop in a baggie for each kid, snip the corner really small, and let them use that, because they're just literally going to eat it, or they're not going to eat it because some kids don't like gingerbread. But for them to decorate with, I wouldn't even bother with the royal icing. Just give them that. They can decorate it, put the sprinkles. It looks adorable, and every kid, they love it. So you can keep it easy that way. So I'm going to start, though, is by rolling out the cookies. I'm not going to make the cookie dough because I already made it, but I am going to bring it out and I'll show you the tips that I would give you to keep them nice and chilled. I do like using wax paper, and it was funny. I'm like, where's my wax paper? I couldn't find it, so I went out to the garage, and it was with the stuff that I had in my RV before we sold the RV. I had, obviously, just like the same kitchen I have here, I had in their mini, and there was wax paper. So this is from the Dollar Tree. Definitely get it from the Dollar Tree. It's $1, obviously. And I like to roll out on wax paper instead of using a lot of flour. so that our, you know, dough doesn't get too hard after a while. But also I don't really like that white look on my gingerbread, so I like to use wax paper. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then of course you're gonna need whatever cookie cutters you want to use. And I just got these at Williams-Sonoma yesterday, and I told you guys I'm not sure I really like the shape of the gingerbread. And I have tons of gingerbread cookie cutters. I don't know why I got these. I was just like, couldn't pass it up. So I might make like this size. I don't know what size cookies to make, you know, especially when you have to make tons of them. We'll see. It might be this one or the next one up. And then baking pans or baking sheets. I'll show you the ones I normally use. I think I had ordered some of these from QVC or somewhere. Let's talk about the pans. I just use metal sheet pans. Yeah, this one's Nordic Ware, and I love it, and I wish I had more of them, but I don't right now. And then this one is Technique. Yeah, so these are from either QVC or HSN. But I love these pans. I mean, they've been great. What I always do is put parchment in, and guess what? I don't even have to wash them, like, literally. And then with parchment paper, if you are using parchment paper, it's not the same as wax paper. Do not put this in your oven. Parchment paper, you can reuse it. So it's reusable until it like looks destroyed, right? So that's what's always good. It helps for your cookies not to stick. I always use parchment paper. I only recently started using Silpat or like these silicone ones. I do have this Sur La Table one that I'll use today because I used it the other day and it worked out great. So I will probably line one of the cookie sheets, this one here, since it doesn't have one, with that. And that's what I'll use. And I have a double oven now this year. This is new because my kitchen got just redone after that water damage. And I was like, I'm going to get 2 ovens. And I wanted a stove with an oven and then plus one in the wall. But my husband's like, stove looks so old school and blah, blah, blah. So we have a built-in range, but I have a double oven. So I can literally cook 6 sheets at a time or bake 6 sheets at a time, which I'm not going to do. I'm only going to fire up one of the ovens. And I'm going to do 3 sheets at a time. So this will probably get done pretty quick. The 2 batches we'll probably just cook up super fast, and that's fun. And let me grab my my cookie dough. One other thing before I grab that real quick is, of course, you're going to need piping bags. And I always keep my piping bags basically in here. I mean, I have more of them because, you know me, I like to order things and I have like tons of stuff. So more color gels. I had just recently mentioned I picked up some Russian piping tips that were like snowflakes at Hobby Lobby, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know where my Russian piping tips are. They're right here. I have 2 packs. This one I didn't even open, as you can see, even though I came from, I think, Amazon. I did do a review on these on my old channel, and it was one of the very first reviews ever on Russian piping tips because nobody really used them back in the day. And, well, that channel's gone now, so that video's gone. But if you guys are curious, let me know. I'll do another one. It's not hard to use, and I use them with buttercream frosting. But plenty of piping bags. Again, if you don't have piping bags, just use a Ziploc with a little, you know, edge cut, but it's going to be harder to use. So I do like using tipless bags. They kind of look like this. I mean, this one you're supposed to put, you can put a tip in there. Any bag you can. But these are the ones they call tipless bags. So supposedly, if you cut them a certain way, you don't need to put a tip in here. And I think I might have picked these up from like eBay or AliExpress or somewhere. You can find them on Amazon too. They just look like that. And then of course you have your Wilton ones. So whatever you want to use, if you're going to be using a tip, you want a very fine tip, like a number 1 or number 2. Just round piping tip, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think I have any. Do I have any here? I have a bunch of fun shapes here. Here we go. So there's a number 3. Number 3 is good too. So I would say maybe a 2 or a 3. Something thin. But it looks like that. And if you are going to be using a bag and you want to use your tip, you don't always have to use a coupler. If you have a nice sturdy bag, all you have to do is just cut it at the bottom, throw your tip in, and you should be good. But if you want, you need a coupler. That holds the tip on your bag. Oh my goodness. I know, it seems like a lot. It's not really a lot. And once you buy a lot of these things, they're reusable. It's not a big deal. You're going to need a rolling pin. So I love this one, but not as much as I love... I think this is a Sil pin. This is from Silpat, the company, or the people that make Silpat. But not as much as I love this one that I got like at TJ Maxx, seriously. But it's a marble rolling pin, and it's heavy. I'm not going to... It's super heavy. I like the handles. It reminds me of the ones we used to use when we were kids. That's my favorite because it stays nice and cold. And this guy, I don't use a French rolling pin because I'm afraid of it. But if you know how to use a French rolling pin, great. It's just, you know, it has like the tendency to tipple-topple and stuff. But you just have to just use it and you're good. But if that's what you have, that's what you have. So I'm going to use this guy. The other thing is when you roll them out, these are supposed to be rolled out to a 1/4 inch thickness because you want them to be a little bit chewy. But a lot of times other cookies are supposed to roll out really thin. I always roll them out to about a 1/4 inch anyway. even my sugar cookies. But you can get yourself some guides like this. I'm gonna eyeball it, which I haven't done in a long time, so hopefully I'm okay. But the guides that, you know, Wilton sells them, you put them on the end of their roller, which I also have, I don't know where it is go to like Home Depot or even Walmart. But with the Home Depot, what I like is that they have paint stirrers, and I got that tip from Daniela. She makes cookies on here. And they have paint stirrers that you can either use the small ones, you know how they have small paint stirrers that you would use for like a gallon, and glue two of them together, and that's a good thickness, and put one on one side, one on the other side as you're rolling, and your pin will be on there, and you'll know about how thick you need things to be. But what I like is the one that stirs the 5-gallon buckets. They're bigger and they're thicker already, so you just need one on either side. They're big and long, and so when you go to roll out, it's easier for you to stay on them and get a nice thickness to your cookie. Okay, so that's what I normally do. But let me grab my dough. So I made this dough last night because it is a very sticky dough. It makes an awesome cookie, but it's sticky. So like, don't think you're gonna chill for an hour and be great to roll it out or anything. No, I always do overnight because you really want it to be nice and cold, or it's very, very, very sticky. Okay. So I have my pans ready. I have my dough, and I have 3 chunks just like this. I separate them out just so you don't have one big thing. And this might even be too much to roll out at once, so I'll probably just use a chunk of it. So what I normally do is just get my stuff here. It says press in and to lock roll. I'll do that later. So I just get enough to put down, and then also to roll on top of it. So you're basically sandwiching your dough inside the wax paper, and that'll help us out. I have not started my oven because I'm gonna chill these again for like good 10, 15, 20 minutes after we cut them, so that way they keep their shape better, okay? Gingerbread cookies, roll-out cookies, I always do that. So my hands are nice and washed. Smells awesome. I love this recipe. You know, I'm the type that like every year I would use a new recipe. I just go online and find a recipe. I'm gonna put this in the fridge while we're not using it. And every year they were different. And every year you don't know what to expect, because maybe this year, or this recipe that I chose, even though it says it's a roll-out cookie, is a little softer, or when you go to bake it, it really puffs up, right? So this does have baking powder in it, it does have baking soda, but it doesn't get that puffy. So they do puff up a little bit. So I'm gonna start rolling this out, and usually when I'm here by myself, because the wax paper, I'll put my body against it and see, it helps it from moving around. But since you guys are here on the video, it's harder for me to do. So I'm gonna continue rolling this until it's about the thickness that I need. And see, I'm going in different directions. It doesn't really matter because it's not like we're making a pie crust. We're just gonna cut shapes out of it. But you can check it out every once in a while, and I'll be right back. Again, if you have those guides, you just put them down and only roll in the one direction, right? But I'm just gonna eyeball this. Okay. I feel like it's pretty even. Maybe a little bit bubbly in the middle. And if you're really, you can get your ruler out and measure that, but I think this is good enough. Let me see. That looks pretty good to me. Let me just give it one more. And if you're gentle, you can reuse the wax paper. So I always like that, as far as keep using it for the different batches, right? So I always kind of loosen it up. I'm gonna remove it from there. I'm gonna take this off of here. I'm gonna lay it back down, and I'm gonna cut out my cookies. Now you do not have to put it back on here. You can put this on your parchment, on your tray, and cut out your cookies, and your cookies can just stay right on your tray without like making them deformed at all, moving them from here to over there. But again, I'm still trying to figure out what size I want these cookies. Let me see. Like I said, I need at least 6 dozen. So I feel like this one might be a little bit too big, and they're supposed to be 3-inch cookies. So to me, this is more of a 3-inch size. I mean, this is kind of a lot bigger. So again, so you don't have to do too much rolling. I kind of do this thing. I'm going to kind of try to cut as many out as I can on the one roll. So try to really be chintzy with how you're layering them out here. And I try not to, like, right now I'm going to re-roll what's left. And I like when this happens, when you pull it out at the same time, because then you can just come right over to your... right over to this and just pop it out. Oopsie. right? So I'll continue cutting them out. I'm going to transfer them to my baking sheet, and then I'm going to put them in the fridge, like I said, for about 10-15 minutes before I start baking them. But I'm pretty much going to roll all of them out so that they're all ready to go, because I want to bake them pretty quickly. They do not have to be super far apart from each other. They're not going to spread out that much, but these are kind of a big shape. But I would probably get 6, maybe 8 of them on this baking sheet. But let me move them off, and then I'll show you how I re-roll this. Okay, so I'll just gather this up. Kind of, I don't really want to touch it too much with my hands, but I do want to get it back together. Do a little smash, and then continue rolling. And I think I'm going to get about 8 from here. So let me see, 8, and another one's 16, 32. Hopefully I'll get the dozens that I need, but I may end up making some chocolate chip cookies to finish it off, or some other type of cookie. Maybe not chocolate chip, maybe something fun like a Snickerdoodle. I always want to do something that's a little unexpected. Okay, so I'm going to finish cutting these out, and then after I bake them, basically get them in the oven, I'll start up my frosting, the royal icing, because I do want to pay attention to it. I don't want to mess that up. And let me see if I can get 2 more out of here. I don't know. If you just want to let it go and then you're like doing other things, it can become a problem. So I always like to keep an eye on my royal icing. So I will have to roll this again. I'll be right back once I have them all cut. This is the last tray for now. So I did get 8 on each tray. I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and I'm gonna start up my my oven, and I'm gonna keep working because I have plenty of pans. So I'm gonna keep rolling them out and keep putting them in my fridge. But for right now, I'm gonna let these chill. So in the 10 minutes that these are chilling, 15 minutes, the oven is warming up. And I believe it's probably at 350, whatever the recipe says. So just follow the recipe. If you see that your cookie cutter is starting to stick, just rub it in a little flour, but I haven't had to do that yet, and I've already done half, or a little less than half the recipe, so, but that's always a tip that you can use. I'll be right back. Sorry, just a quick correction. I'm going to bake at 375. Like I said, just follow the recipe, okay? Even when you make the recipe for the cookies, just follow it to a T, just like it says. Basically, you're mixing all the wet ingredients, then you're mixing the dry ingredients, and you bring them together, and that's it. But I will be right back. Okay, it's at 365. It's almost at 375. I'm going to start bringing out my trays just to make sure the cookies are the way I want them to be. Just I always give them one last look and just make sure they're not too close together, or if something, I'm saying, if you want to move them around, you can do that. They're just chilled, they're not frozen. I did put some in the freezer because I ran out of room in my fridge, so I have a couple trays in the freezer, but for now it's going to be good. So sometimes they just move, or like just make sure your parchment is where you want it to be. And this thing should be beeping anytime soon here. Probably move the ones from the freezer to the fridge because they're already starting to freeze, so that's not the best thing. And smooth them out. Almost there, 5 more degrees. I know this is very exciting. I'm sorry, I have you just watching my oven here, but I'll be right back. It should probably take another minute or so. Okay, it literally beeped when I pressed the stop recording. So I am going to show you, I do have my racks, bottom, middle, top. I could probably bring either the middle one up one or bring this top one down one. It's probably better, but oh well, it's where it is right now, so I'm going to leave it there. And they're going to bake for, let me see what this says. Oops, I'm going to walk right in front of you guys. I tell you, I only make these like once a year, so I don't remember a lot of this stuff. 8 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to set my, I know it's going to take longer than 8 minutes. It always does. So I'm just going to set my timer for like 7 minutes. And then I'm going to turn every single one of the trays. You can even move them from their positions, but I usually just turn them around, and that's usually enough for me. And then let them go for the next 5 minutes, or we'll see what they look like at 7 minutes. So when I come back, it'll be about 7 minutes. Okay, the timer's about to go off, so I'm just going to, I don't care, so I'll just press cancel. And I'm gonna open it up, and they are looking really great. I know it's gonna be hard for you guys to see, and hopefully I can get this over. I hate leaving this door open so long, but that's okay for science here. See, they're getting puffy and they're not really getting misshapen yet, or not going to at this point. I would be surprised if at this point that they would get misshapen, but you never know. I do not have my oven set for convection bake, but I don't know if you can see there's a fan in the back that turns off and on, which is really great. I am loving my KitchenAid. I did a whole review this Thanksgiving and I haven't uploaded it yet, you guys. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch out the bottom one with the top one. Because usually bottom and top are more picky. And I can see these look a little different than the other ones. So anyway, oh, I smashed one of their heads. This little guy right here. Oh well, we'll see what happens. Bummer. Okay. I'm gonna do 4 more minutes because basically 8 to 12 minutes, right? And that's 7 plus 4. It goes about 11, and I'll keep an eye out and see what it looks like then. Okay. That is 11 minutes, and generally I like to underbake my cookies. So I have a feeling this is probably gonna be good. You're supposed to be firm. That middle one might still need a little work. I don't want to smash another head over here. This one looks great. So I'm going to put these, oopsie, sorry, over here on a baking rack, cooling rack, should I say. And these guys. So the middle one I'm going to give it another, probably just 1 minute, but you know, you want this to kind of get hot again. So I'll probably give it 2 more minutes and then just let them cool. Okay, so I'm all over my kitchen. These have cooled on here for just a few minutes now. They don't have to get completely cold, especially because I need to keep using these pans. So I'm just gonna get them, and you see, they're not like super soft. Obviously you wanna be careful with them, but really good stuff. Look at that one stuck on there. So I'm gonna let them cool completely, obviously on the baking cooling rack. And I'm gonna go and finish cooking all of the batches and or baking them up, and then we'll make our royal icing when we come back. I just want to show you guys the last little piece. Like, I try to make do with every little piece I have, and then that's the last little waste is just what's around here. Okay guys, so I am definitely using my mixer. I have never made this stuff without a mixer, like even back in the day. So, you know, was one of the first things I bought was a KitchenAid. It was actually that pink one that you see in the corner over here. But so in here I already have 4 cups of the confectioner's sugar, just because you guys don't need to see me, I mean, like, just scooping out 4 cups of the powdered sugar. The only thing is, and I hate when they do this, the recipe says 3 to 4 cups. So it's like, I guess you can start with 3 and keep messing with it, which is such a pain. But that's a lot of meringue powder. Like I said, they want a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna do the 4 cups. Normally what it is if it's pretty humid in your area, you're gonna want more confectioner sugar or powdered sugar. That's kind of why they say 3 to 4. I'm gonna start off with the whisk attachment. I'm not using this to make the royal icing at all. I'll be using a different attachment, but I do want to show you that you're supposed to whisk together the meringue powder, the salt, and the confectioner's sugar. So I already have the confectioner's sugars in there. I'm going to get the meringue powder and a little bit of salt. So let me grab those things. Sorry, I would have already had that, but I forgot because I'm still just finishing up the last batch, and I think that's like literally the last, you know, section of it cooking. So I need a 1/4 teaspoon salt. So the smallest one I have on here for whatever reason is my half, so I'm just gonna eyeball it, which I don't recommend, but I'm not, like I said, this is literally just to add a little decoration, the smallest amount. I mean, we're just gonna pipe on some eyes, a mouth, and some little squigglies, and maybe some buttons, we'll see. A lot of times it's cute when you use the little red hot cinnamon red hots and make the buttons, but that's what I have here. And a 1/4 cup of meringue powder, which I think is gonna kill this box of it. Possibly this stuff puffs up really badly, so I'm gonna try to get some, but I'm pretty sure, like what I'm saying, it's very light, so it just starts like wanting to puff away. And you can probably see it there now. I don't know if you see like a cloud of, there, I have a little bit left. I don't know why to me this stuff smells so good. I guess it reminds me of meringue cookies, I don't know. Close it up. And I'm just using this to the whisk it, so I'm using the stir function. But you see the meringue powder still like puffing away. So I'm only on stir, you guys. I'm not doing anything harder than that. And I can see there's a lot of meringue powder over on the edge over here. But again, you can whisk it together, and please sift your powdered sugar. I did not because I'm just trying to get this going, so that's not something I did. But I am using this as the whisking function. And then I'm going to switch out to our paddle. I'm going to add the vanilla and 3/4 cup of cool water. Now it says 3/4 to 1 cup of cool water, so again, you have to eyeball it. But like, how do you know? If you've never really made this stuff, you have no idea. So I'm using the 4 cups of confectionery sugar. I'm going to use a less amount of water, the 3/4 cup, because you don't want it to get too runny. If it's too runny, then you just messed it up and you can't even use it the way you want to pipe, right? So it's better for it to be thick and then add water when you're done. You can always add water to small batches and coloring or whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to leave that there. Okay, I think that's enough whisking. And you don't have to do that. Again, you can just whisk it yourself by hand, but I'm just like, oh, I'll just use this. Let this do it for me. And I need a little vanilla. I do have vanilla that has no color. But if you want to use just regular vanilla, then go for that. I'm just going to use regular vanilla. I mean, it's the smallest amount for that batch. And then we need water. I will put it in this. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I always use this Mexican vanilla. It's a mix. I love it. And everyone asks, where'd you get that? They have it at Walmart now. But it's vanilla, but it has a little specialness to it. Oh, there goes my timer. I will be right back. See what happens? I said I should follow my rule. I said don't get distracted with this stuff. One of the little cookies in the very top got a lot darker than I would like. But oh well. What are you gonna do? I ended up making 5.5 dozen, you guys. I needed 6 dozen. So I'm probably gonna do some drop cookies just to add to the dozens, but like, what a bummer. So 3/4 cup of water. So you should use a measure that's for water. I know people will tell me that you're not using a liquid measure. So what I always do is I do my 3/4, right? And then I add a little more for good measure, and guess what? I eyeballed that perfectly. Once you've been baking for a long time, you kind of have an idea of this stuff. But anyway, their instructions are to beat on slow speed, and the mixture will seem hard and lumpy, but the sugar will dissolve, and to do this for about 4 to 5 minutes, because what happens is right now it looks like a mess, right? But the meringue powder starts kicking in. So I'm on slow speed, 4 to 5 minutes, and then after that, they want you to increase the speed gradually, taking it to high, and then let it beat for like 5 or 7 more minutes. It just says taking several minutes to do the transfer, or from low to high, but it doesn't even say how long to beat it for after that. So I'll be back in about 4 minutes and we'll see what this looks like on low speed. It's been 4 minutes and it says that it will be nice and smooth, and it is. And then now we're going to start gradually increasing the speed. So you saw I just went to the next one. That's 1 speed up. I'll leave it doing that for about a minute. And then I'm going to go up to the next one until I get to high speed. Okay, when I come back, I'll be at high speed. So I'm going to do about a minute per, notch on my artisan here. And I'll be right back. I just want to mention, maybe you can see how much higher, because you can see it without me tipping the camera. This stuff is flying everywhere, and that's, usually when I make a big batch, I put a towel on it, because the, I don't want this to touch there. I also have a guard. I don't know what I do with my guard. It's not here. But I normally would just put a towel over this just so that if it wants to splatter, it can splatter onto the towel and I'm not even looking at it. So that's just the next level up, and it's already getting kind of crazy. So I'm gonna let it go for another minute, and then I'll again keep going up and level every minute. I know this is getting super loud. Hopefully you can hear me, but check this out. Isn't that crazy? At first you don't think it's gonna do anything. Now I'm gonna put it on the highest, and we have to let it basically go for like another few minutes at least. So I'm gonna let it go for a few minutes and I'll be back. So I'm gonna slow this thing down. I don't think you can over whip it, but at the same time you don't really want to mess with it too much. Like right now it's still a little shiny, and that might be okay. So I think adding 3/4 made it still a little bit soft, but that's okay. And I haven't made this in a really long time, so I'm like, hey, is it supposed to be shiny, or is it supposed to be a little more matte when you're done? Let me look at my recipe. Beat at high speed until icing is fluffy, which it is. You can add your food coloring, of course, if you're making a batch of just one color, you do it now. And then just keep the icing covered as you use it. And so theirs is, like I said, it took a lot more meringue than I think when I make double the batch is normally about a quarter cup of meringue. So this is very fluffy, okay? So it's a different recipe than I would normally use like for my sugar cookies. But I'm gonna take this off because I think we're done. So the total beat time was probably 5 minutes, you know, the 4 minutes at the beginning, and then probably another good 7 to 8 minutes. And usually that's the even the kind I make for my cookies. It's like 15 minutes of beating, but at the same time that one is also. But look at this. Look at the thing won't even move. You see that? So this is good. So what I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna use this same icing for flooding cookies or doing other things, I would take a portion of it out, add a little more water by hand with a spoon or, you know, spatula, mix it in really well. And I always use metal utensils. If you use something that's plastic and it had, let's say, buttercream on it before or some kind of grease, and even if it's old, because, you know, you wash things, but plastic holds on to grease. Like if I was to use this to actually work it, which I wouldn't, it can mess up your icing. So you always want to use metal utensils or stainless steel, you know, porcelain coated, like those kind of things that you know that the grease that might have been there from even, you know, days ago, months ago is off. So you always want to clean them up. Some people even clean out their items with vinegar and water before they even start, because just to make sure there's no grease in your pan, or your bowl. But anyway, so what I'm going to do, because this is a lot. This is awesome because I did want to make some extra. This stuff stores for a long time too. You can, well, a couple weeks. I would put it in a tub and then put maybe some saran wrap and then put the lid and put it in your fridge, and you're good to use it for the next week or two. But I am going to keep this covered because I'm not quite ready to use it. I'm going to try to take this out and again, you know, take as much as I can out of it. So the only other reason you can use plastic is if you know that you bought that plastic only to ever touch like your meringue or your, you know, stuff like that, and you've never put grease on it, then you're good to go. But again, this tubs you're going to store this in, make sure it's brand new. It's never been used for anything else that has grease, and then you can use it. But if you're going to, otherwise you want to use some glass receptacles or something like that. But usually what I do is I buy like Gladware because it's cheap anyway, and then I store this stuff in there. This is a good amount. I do like this recipe. I like the way it came out. I haven't used theirs before, so this is new to me. But I'm going to just continue cleaning this off because I like to save every little bit that I can. And I'm going to put a moist towel over the top until I'm ready to use it, which is going to be once the cookies are completely cooled, okay? Okay guys, so let's get some of that icing in here. So I'm going to use a tipless bag. I haven't done this in a long time. I probably should just use a thing, but I'll just show you what that means and how we use this. But with these guys, what you would do is pop this off, obviously wash it nice and clean. You get a bag like the Wilton, or you can even do this with a Ziploc. You have to be very careful, but you're gonna snip enough so that this coupler can drop through and this portion of it will be sticking out. Okay, like this part, not with the rings. So you would snip it, you get your little bit, you put it on here, see it kind of fits at the tip of the coupler. You're gonna drop it inside your bag, and then on the outside of the bag, this was gonna be sticking out because you cut a slit here, you know what I'm saying? You cut that off the tip. You put this and you screw, and now your coupler is inside the bag and everything, and then that little ring is outside that holds the bag together with the that piece there. Now, since I have those bits or those tips, I should probably use them, but of course I'm not going to, and I meant to grab a cup because it's always nice to have something to help you hold your bag. And you can do the same thing with that guy, okay? You would just put it in there. Usually you might want to give it a little twist so that the stuff doesn't start leaking out, but this is very thick royal icing, so it's not going to leak out. And I'm just using it the same thickness, and I'm going to tell you why, because I want it to be thick, right? Actually, let me test it really quick. This is some fluffy stuff. This is so interesting. This is totally different than what I normally use. So what you would do is test it, and if you want your royal icing to be thinner, add a little water, like I said, to a portion of it at a time. If you need it to be thicker, because you want to do piping, if you're piping lines and stuff like that, or words, then you want it to be a little bit thicker. If you want piping consistency, if you want flooding consistency, you would add quite a bit more water. I'm going to try to fill this up a pretty good amount because I do have a lot of cookies to do. But again, if you want to color it, you can color it in portions. You can color the whole batch. It depends on what you're doing, I suppose. This stuff is really, really light. That's so interesting. Again, it's probably because like it has so much meringue. I'm gonna say that's enough for right now. Again, you saw that I use metal utensils to scoop anything out. This towel is a little bit damp, so it keeps it from hardening, because it'll start drying really fast. Now let me, you can put a little twist tie on this, but I just hold it in my hand. Let me grab a scissor and my cookies and we'll get started. So this, of course, is whatever you want to do. Like I said, if you want to add little, those little spicy little buttons that people like to do, you know, do you want to go around the whole thing? Do you want to just make a little face? Whatever it is. But this is really light. Oh my goodness. I'm going to hold this and I'm going to trim the very, very, very tip of this, like the smallest, straight across. Let me see if that's enough to get this going. That might be a little too small. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm just gonna cut the very, 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 very tip straight across. That might be a little bit too big, but that's okay. Other things you can do with this is cut like a beak shape or like a V, and all of a sudden now you can make leaves, right? When you do the leaves, piping them like this, it'll kind of start squirting out. Let me see if that's good enough. I think that's gonna be okay. It's small. So, oh goodness, where are we at? Let's say I'm just gonna make little eyeball, little eyeball, little smile. Of course, it looks like a kindergartner did this because this stuff is really, really fluffy. I didn't expect that. So 1, 2, 3 buttons, and then a little squiggly line on his little arm, right? That's typical. That's what people like. I don't know. So do whatever you like. I saw some with the same cutter where the person traced around the whole thing and I'm like, oosh, I'm not good at that, so I do not want to do that. And then you have to let this stuff dry at least a few hours, if not overnight. Okay? Now, suppose this is the same stuff that you would use to make a gingerbread house. I don't know. It's thick, but it's not that thick. So I don't think so. So this recipe is nice. It's fluffy. I can see where I might like to use this for cookies. But to make, like, put a gingerbread house together, no, you need something much thicker. And to be honest, for that, I just use confectioner's sugar with very little water. You know what I'm saying? You can flavor it, a little vanilla, but just put very little water so you make like a paste more than anything. Nothing fancy. But, you know, it's up to you. If you have a good recipe, let us know in the comments, because I'm sure people want to see that. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'm just going to finish up my little dudes. I have plenty of them to work on, and maybe I'll leave a few undone so the kids can do them. But there they are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you... Well, actually, I wanted to show you something else with some Snickerdoodles, so I'll do that right now. Okay, guys, so we saw how I would make our little gingerbread, and I told you guys I might make some Snickerdoodles. I just quickly want to show you. For the King Arthur recipe, it says to use, you know, a teaspoon, very rounded, or like a little tablespoon guy. So I just have this little cookie scoop, and it says to put like 5 or 6 in your bowl at a time, and then just kind of roll them around, right? You don't want them to get together with the sugar that you have. But what I want to show you is I had ordered from NordicWare.com. I love that company. Some cookie stamps. They're just not here yet. And then the ones I ordered last time, I don't know where they are. I think I told you guys I ordered a big order of like bundt pans, all these things. And I kind of hid them in the garage, and then I cannot find them for myself. So, and I've already cleaned out my garage, so I don't know. They're there somewhere. But what I want to show you is I'm going to use a cookie stamp. Now, some people said they use a cookie stamp on their Snickerdoodles, and I thought that's kind of weird because every Snickerdoodle I've ever made puffs up really kind of big. But apparently they don't have to. I don't know. So I've already rolled it in the sugar, and the sugar is the reason I even decided to do this is because I thought, oh, you know what, this will work great because the sugar is what keeps the stamp from like sticking to your cookie. So we have it all rolled, and then you're supposed to flatten these out, right? So that kind of lets you know they don't really melt on their own, or what's the word? Not really melt, but what's the word I'm looking for? That they're gonna stay kind of round, right? So that's why you have to smash them down. So I went out to my garage and I'm like, I know I have other like cookie stamps or like things where you do a cutout cookie and then you have something like this, and look what I found. So I found these cool little shapes and things. So let me try this one because it's more basic. And all I'm gonna do is just push down on the cookie and hopefully it'll release. Oh, so cute. It's a little bit messed up, but that's all right. So I've never tried this before, so I was just like, well, this might work. So I'm kind of rubbing it in the sugar over here too, the stamp. And, you know, just to put a little something on it, and just to ensure that that kind of stays there, I'm going to put this in the fridge again for another 5 or 10 minutes before I put them in the oven, and we'll see what happens. If not, you know, it's a snickerdoodle. I have them cooling, but some did better than others. Like, I did a lot more of the snow stamp because I knew that one was probably going to be the best looking one, because at least it looks like a design. The little trees is okay. The snowman has seen better days, but they did puff up towards the end of the baking, which is like, ah. So the ones that I did put in the fridge or in the freezer before I got in the oven did much better. Another batch, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to put them in. And it was a, what design was it? We'll see when I bring them out, but I'll have pictures of it. But it kind of didn't stay as well, so just go ahead and chill them, and that's pretty good. So this recipe obviously is the kind that doesn't really inflate a whole lot. I have other ones where they make like mountains, you know, of snickerdoodles. So these are pretty good, and I think that's kind of fun. Just add a little bit of a design. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys at the next one. I'll have links for the recipes in the description box because, like I said, they're not my recipes. One other thing I wanted to mention with the royal icing, that's a really great recipe if you have a smaller KitchenAid. I have an artisan and then I have the original. The original obviously is a smaller bowl, slightly. Like, maybe it just has a different shape, to be honest, but I think it is a little bit smaller. But anyway, that may not be true. They are different shapes, the bowls, but I'm like, I think it, you know what I'm saying, it accommodates that the other mixer really well. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.